Here today is Paul Griffin. He's representing the West Michigan Prosperity Alliance.
Good afternoon. My name is Paul Griffin. I'm Executive Director for Michigan Works West Central, which is the northern 6 counties of the 13-county prosperity region. And as was indicated, I serve as one of the individuals on a 31-member board that covers those 13 counties. As you probably know, there are 10 regions in the state. We're Region 4, and Region 4 has a unique distinction in that it is the second largest in terms of square miles, 8,000 square miles. The UP only has us beat by doubling that, but it's larger than I think the state of Connecticut. I mean, it's a lot of square miles, 8,000 square miles. It also, ironically, is the second largest of the 10 regions in terms of population. 1.5 million individuals in that 13-county region. That include 365 units of local government along with that. So this 31-member steering team started back in 2014 when the West Michigan Prosperity Alliance was granted $250,000 to pull together, come together as a community and look and see how we could work much closer together as a region. The governor has his famous spaghetti map. If you've ever seen it, it is kind of entertaining. He goes through about 80 configurations of ISDs and Michigan Works and K-12s and you name it. And 80% of them are state government, ironically. But all of the, for example, MDOT regions of the state, and you take the department, DHHS, you name it, it's a spaghetti, bowl of spaghetti. And so the governor wanted to try to bring a little more organization and cohesiveness to those processes where you don't have people crossing over the boundaries all the time. This group of individuals included regional planning, adult education, workforce development, economic development, transportation, higher education, private business, and the philanthropy community. I also serve on the executive committee of that alliance, and it has been, I've met a whole lot of new people, and we think we've done a whole lot of good things instead of just putting together a few plans here and there and putting them on shelves to collect dust. So we chose the project route, and we actually started back, we actually had our first meeting down at the Fifth Third ballpark back in 2000, I think it was 13, right, and had well over about 150 people attend that. We actually met following that in the Governor's Economic Summit. We had over 200 people, and we presented criteria that we wanted folks to vote on, and Aaron had a great clicker system where we could get instant feedback and establish criteria in which we would evaluate proposals. First year we got 31 proposals. We funded 5 of those, so the competition was pretty tough. And we really stressed the importance, and I won't go over all of those criteria, but what we really emphasized is we wanted it to be regional. We did not want to, and we did get one application for, we need sidewalks, you know, in this part of the area. This is not about sidewalks in a little community. This is about what can we do collectively as a 13-county region to make a bigger impact overall in our economies. So even though we have a rural area like, an urban area like Grand Rapids, Muskegon, Holland, we also have a lot of rural areas. The 6 counties that I represent on a day-to-day basis, Montcalm, Ionia, Barry, those are all very rural, so we have a pretty significant mixture, but we felt we could certainly come together for common causes. And so those 5 projects were initially approved, and without hesitation, the #1 project was the Port of Muskegon project. And you know, we worked real hard for folks not to say, well, that is not in my region or my area or my county. I can give you several examples. I won't give you company names, but I have one food processor, has 150 employees, and half of their production goes in ice containers over to other countries. Half of their production. So 75 of those employees realize their wages as a result of product being shipped to other countries. I have another employer in our region that is a durable goods manufacturer. Several years ago, we provide them, our Michigan Works organization provided them funding for 26 welders that had been laid off. And as a result of that, we actually brought someone over, the company did, brought someone over from the Czech Republic to teach them European welding standards, and I didn't know if such a thing existed. I thought welding was welding, but no, there are European welding standards that are becoming the world standards. And as a result of that, they were able to compete, and now in the product that they make, I'll tell you, is in the $5 to $7 million per unit cost. They are able now to send and make those products and send them to England, for example. And so there are a lot of products that are made. There's another natural resource product that is in the ground that over time will be mined and will need to be transported by hundreds of thousands of tons a year. And we won't be using all of that product in Michigan or necessarily even in this country. So there are lots of examples of companies that could use clearly the services of shipping, and right here within, it happens to be pretty well centrally located in terms of geographically of our region. So those 13 counties kind of surround the Muskegon area. So in terms of getting to, there are obviously good highways. We got 31, we have 131, we have US 10, 20 is probably not a good example. 46, I mean, we have a lot of good roadways to get to the Port of Muskegon. So the second, this was the first year of funding with those 5 projects. Just yesterday, we awarded a second round of funding, and 3 of the 5 projects from that first round got a second round of funding, and the Port of Muskegon again was one of those. So it was $32,000 last year, $20,000 this year, plus 5 new additional projects. And they range from working with the community colleges in the region, and in terms of wastewater or water systems, Hardy Pond Trail, a force main project between Muskegon County and Hooversville, which some of you are probably aware of, and the Grand River Restoration. So it's a wide variety, and all of these projects may not necessarily touch every single county directly, but we work really hard to make sure that this is a regional approach, and it's not like, okay, Muskegon County, you had your project, now it's time to give somebody else a chance. This is really working really hard, and this time we only got 13. We had 31 the first time. We only had 13 this time, but awarded 5. So I hope that gives you some idea of the type of efforts that we're doing with the West Michigan Regional Prosperity Initiative in our area. And we are looked at, and this comes from Lansing, not from us. We kind of have this little rivalry between Traverse City and this region in terms of who may be the best region. And so, like I say, we've not developed plans and put them on shelves. We've gone the project route and are getting some great results from that. Any questions?
Any questions?
Why don't we just write it down and wait until our speakers are done?
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Paul. Next is Aaron Kuhn, and Aaron's from the, as you all well know, West Michigan Shoreline Regional Development Commission, and their organization is the one that took these funds now that we just heard about and implemented that project.
Right. Right, and Erin Kuhn with the West Michigan Shoreline Regional Development Commission. I'm the executive director there. And I'd like to very quickly take a step back and talk about how we got to where we're at today. And really, the focus of this whole effort and the county creating the Muskegon County Port Advisory Committee was the announcement of the closure of the Cobb plant and the loss of the tonnage and the loss of the tax base. So the county took the initiative to create the Port Advisory Committee and really looked at how do we, as a community, come together to replace and diversify the tonnage being moved through the port. And I think a lot of credit needs to be given to Representative Bill Huizenga at the federal level for working at that level and with the Army Corps of Engineers to bring in funding to fund those ports within our region that aren't meeting that 1 million ton threshold, as well as our current port property owners that are bringing increased goods through the port to make up the loss of the tonnage of the coal. However, the goal still remains to replace and diversify the tonnage and what's being moved through the port. And I also think the county's Community Development Director, Bob Lukens, and the Lakeshore Chamber of Commerce, not Chamber of Commerce,
Yeah.
yeah. Sorry. Deserve a lot of credit for bringing in the pearl mess and the cruise ships to the Port of Muskegon. That has really brought a lot of attention to the port as well as the Regional Prosperity Initiative. To go back to the study and the dollars that were awarded to the Port of Muskegon to develop the infrastructure and organizational analysis. Like Paul said, $32,000 was really the first money in towards the port study to be done. We were able to then take those dollars, work locally, and raise an additional $31,500 from a variety of sources, locally as well as far away as the Mecosta County Economic Development Agency to donate towards the development of this study. We were able to use those dollars and received a EDA, U.S. Department of Commerce Economic Development Administration grant for $62,500, total project cost of $125,000 to put together this study. We had a steering committee made up of local officials, most of which sit on the County Port Advisory Committee, go through a bid process to select a consultant. Martin Associates was selected. They conducted the study working with the local leadership here. And some of the results, again, it was a two-phase study, pretty much looking at the infrastructure, looking at the current capacity of the infrastructure that we have for all four modes of transportation, that's water, road, rail, and air, and looking at the current capacity and then the capacity for increased goods being moved over those modes of transportation. And the study showed that there is capacity to increase through our existing port facilities, and that there are no major infrastructure improvements that are needed to make that happen and increase those goods.
Repeating arms.
The study also looked at the traditional movement of goods throughout the Great Lakes, and it did show that those are down. They're down significantly since the Great Recession. They are starting to creep up a little bit, but they still are well below the levels prior to 2008. But there is opportunity in non-traditional goods being moved through the Port of Muskegon, and that's looking at the markets that are very unique to our region, including agriculture and manufactured goods. And there are niche markets and niche opportunities that we can seize to move those goods and bring those through the Port of Muskegon. The other portion of this study was the organizational analysis, looking at a variety of organizational models around ports similar to the Port of Muskegon. And just to point out, the Port of Muskegon does have, with the county's improvements to Heritage Landing and bringing in the cruise ships, we do have a publicly owned port facility. It moves people, not necessarily goods, but it is still considered a port facility. And the study then recommended an organizational structure be formed by the county to promote and advocate for waterborne transportation, as well as the development of a regional logistics hub, including all 4 modes of transportation. And that really, to increase the activity through the Port of Muskegon, it really needs to be put into the context of a regional logistics hub and work hand in hand with all 4 modes of transportation to be truly the most successful. And this legislation that we're going to talk about today is an opportunity to develop an organization to make that goal of the community that we've been working towards over the last 3 to 4 years, to not only replace and diversify, but also develop a regional logistics hub around the Port of Muskegon. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next guest speaker is Mickey Knight. As he prepares for his presentation, I want to make sure everybody has a copy of the draft House Bill 5651, and we do have extra ones if anybody in the audience would like. Mickey, did you bring yours set?
Yes, I gave them out to someone passed. I wrote them off. Oh, they're right here.
Oh.
He's got it, he's just got it.